Welcome back to the Freemouse MC, and we are standing here today with the Honda XL600 V Transalp from 1991. This is basically the European all-rounder machine, and it was designed as an all-rounder, not in the sense of an adventure bike, but as a can-do everything bike. I think it was advertised back in the day as a all-road machine, basically, instead of something like a dual sport. And the bike can really deliver. It has a 583cc V-twin with a 52 angle in the cylinders, and this engine is producing 50 horsepower and 53 Newton meters of torque. All of that while being liquid cooled. And the bike offers quite a package that we're going to get into, and let's hear a bit from the owner of this amazing machine what he has done to it. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, I'm Thorsten and I bought this Transalp 3 years ago for 1,600 euros. And it was in mint condition and I was really happy to get it for this price. But Transalp are really cheap in Europe, like easy to get. Okay, and in the time being the owner, I upgraded a few things because I wanted to travel with the bike. I traveled to Norway, Poland, Spain, France and Switzerland. So, and I added, before that, before the travels, I added a larger front disc, a LED headlight for the styling, a wider handlebar, bash plates, skid plate, digital CDIs, then aftermarket exhaust. I was so happy to get the bike because it had already a Wilbers suspension in the front and the rear. Like the Wilbers shock in the rear is like 500 euro if you want to get it new. So I was so happy to get this bike for 1,600 euro.
Thanks to you, Thorsten, definitely. And what a beautiful bike. And this is also a bike that's really fitting for taller people, as we're both the same size. And let's see how I can fit on this amazing machine. And I have to say, it's quite comfortable. For context, I'm 6'5" or 1,95 m roughly. And I literally have zero weight on my wrists. It's really comfortable. Also, the knee angle is perfectly fitting, it's very comfortable, and if I now get the bike off the stand, I still have a slight bend in my knees, even though this has a already raised seat, am I correct? Yes. So I'm guessing that even for a smaller person this would be perfectly comfortable. Let's see how this thing performs on the road.
So we're now here with the Transalp in the forest, and I gotta say, so far it's handling quite fine. You have a very nice feel on the legs to properly grip the machine, and we're here on like a forest service road, and this is where the motorcycle feels comfortable. But even if the motorcycle starts sliding a bit, like it just did underneath me, you still feel in control to a certain degree. I don't know if you can tell, but it's raining right now, and also it has been raining for quite some time here in Germany the last few days, and the grass is very slippery. I can feel the rear tire basically going everywhere except where I want to, but I gotta say the bike is still very controllable because the big front wheel basically keeps the motorcycle in check. The 20 inches at the front, they really do a nice job. The bike doesn't just do nice little forest roads quite well, Also does little single tracks like this. The suspension with its 190 centimeters in the rear and 200 at the front does a really good job with this. The bike is heavy and you feel that. You can be a bit scared of the 200 kilos, but I gotta say the weight is pretty low due to the V-twin engine configuration. It's really nice. Woo, this is quite a lot of fun, I gotta say. So far, I gotta say, quite a fun machine.
One thing with the Honda Transalp definitely has to be said, this is a machine that was ahead of its time. Nowadays everyone wants an adventure bike, and at the end of the day adventure bikes are a bit of a can-do-it-all machine that don't excel in anything particular. They are not marketed as that, but that's basically what they are. But this motorcycle has been marketed as such, and it keeps its promise. The bike basically has a fairing grabbed from a sports tourer. It looks so amazing seeing like something that you basically could fit on a GPZ 500 on this kind of bike, while still having parts of an enduro like a high mounted exhaust, and the engine perfectly meets the middle of these two kind of experiences, as it's very low, so you have a low weight and can still somewhat perform off-road. The bike with its two-cylinder doesn't completely lose traction because the tire still has enough brake to then get grip, but you don't have the super rattly Honda one-cylinder experience that you would have on bikes like the XL 500 that still was sold. This bike started being sold in 1987 and the XL I think in 79, and then there was an update in 83 I think. I personally own one of the 84 models. And so just a few years later Honda came up with this, and it's pretty incredible how smooth this machine rides. All the things that I just counted down are the reasons why this bike has been sold like I think 70,000 times in Europe, and basically almost not at all in across Europe. I think there are only like 300 examples of them in the UK, and in the US they were stopped to be sold after 2 years because no one was buying them. And I think that is because these markets were all about excess, about either the crazy motocross bikes or the crazy super sports. There was no real middle ground. And Europeans were like using motorcycles quite a lot also as a utility vehicle to get places, and as an only vehicle to own at the time. That kind of has become less since then. But it truly is a motorcycle that excels in every European country. It has the steadiness to drive the German Autobahn. You can find parking in the big metropolitan cities and lane split, which can be a pain in the ass, but this bike can perfectly do it with its incredible amount of steering angle, while still being able to off-road a bit and ride some roads. It's a truly can-do-it-all machine. With a machine that's very catered towards utility and the everyday use. It's usually also a pretty good touring bike, and that's one of the bikes that you consider for this kind of activity on a budget. But when on a big tour you also encounter a lot of road, and we've mostly tested this bike off-road now, so let's see what the bike can do on some asphalt.
One thing that definitely has to be noted is that the bike revs up like a street bike, in the sense of you have still quite a calm riding experience, in the sense of the engine doesn't rattle or shake when the bike is going into the higher revs. Luckily right now we have a short moment where the road is basically dry. The engine feels so nice on this motorcycle. It basically rides like a road bike from its engine characteristics. You don't have any of the wild vibrations that you would have on one of the like a bit older one-cylinder Honda travel enduros. The handling is also relatively fine. Swinging from side to side, you can feel the steadiness of the front wheel that you need to overcome to get this bike into the turns, but as soon as you have the bike leaned over, it's pretty nice. And as soon as you lean the bike over, you feel it's an enduro, but it definitely does it. It's definitely road capable enough. The suspension can feel a bit spongy and soft, but that's also because this is an older machine and motorcycles used to have softer suspension. So of course then an ADV bike from back in the day has even softer suspension. But so far, for some passionate road riding, does pretty well. At the end of the day, the position that this motorcycle has is also so comfortable. It is basically like one of those healthy chiropractic chairs that you can sit in the office in, and it's truly a one vehicle kind of motorcycle in the sense of you don't need a car if you have this. Also, the instruments are really all well visible. You don't have a fuel meter, but you have a kilometer counter, and everything is big and well displayed. And the utility of this motorcycle is just like incredible and really, really big. And with that, it doesn't really surprise that we saw on our Balkan tour this motorcycle as a police bike in Bulgaria and in a few other countries, because it's just a good bike that you can use every day. Like, if you would have to pick a motorcycle from back in the day that you use every day over and over again, this is pretty good. Also, the acceleration with 50 horsepower is definitely absolutely sufficient. One thing that you can complain about are the brakes. The brakes are, well, they're stopping the bike, but that's about it. And also, the owner, Torsten, already upgraded them for that exact reason. If you want a cheap upgrade for these brakes, or if you have found a cheap Transalp online and it only has a single disc, there has been a model later in the years that had the dual disc, and you can just buy the dual disc setup from a salvaged bike and put it onto your motorcycle. That should fix the issue. But like, curve wise, really nice. Has a bit of a supermoto feel with soft suspension. It's nice, like it. It's all good and fun, and the engine really delivers.
So I'm now back from riding this amazing motorcycle, and I gotta say, I'm very convinced by it. But one thing that's really important to keep in mind, this is a 30-year-old bike, so you will need to do some work on it yourself, as all the bike's bolts are old, all the parts. When going to a mechanic with this kind of stuff, you very quickly pay big sums of money. So how was it for you actually doing your own work on the motorcycle?
Yes, I liked it very much. I enjoy it because the service intervals are 12,000 kilometers and it's very easy. Everything is accessible. The air filter from the side, you don't need to open very much. You can access everything easy.
That's actually very impressive. 12,000 kilometers, that's some proper travel distance. Like, I think that's from here to India, basically. Like, not completely, but almost. And like, that everything is so accessible, that is so true. You have the fuse box right here. You have, like you said, the oil filter is somewhere as well. You instantly can top up all of the liquids. You can get to the spark plugs and everything really, really quickly. And one more thing, when talking about how approachable this motorcycle is, this bike is built to last. The engine on this motorcycle is basically bulletproof. It is known for reaching in the 6 digits, and if you buy this motorcycle, you will still have a lot of time to have fun with it. And yeah, it's really, really good, I have to say. And I feel like it's kind of becoming a new classic bike. When you've bought the machine, did you just buy it for its utilitarian package, or also because it's kind of now becoming cool and old school?
In the first place, I wanted a cheap bike that can do it all, like bring me to Norway and bring me to Spain and everything. But now I like it more and more, and as I get deeper into the material, the Transalp forums and Africa Twin forums and everybody is helping each other with the maintenance, with some troubleshooting. It's like so much community, everything. I like it a lot, and I like the part that there's the new Transalp out, and the old Transalp is getting more and more famous because of the new Transalp 750.
That's actually a really good point, that the bike has such a big community support, because it's basically like an old VW Golf. And also, speaking of the new Transalp, it's really nice seeing the same spirit there, because many people describe the new Transalp as a very comfortable and more street-focused ADV bike, but it's like it's this nice middle of an all-road motorcycle. At the end of the day, with all this combined, it kind of feels like the European KLR. And yeah, all in all, really good bike. And if you like this video, definitely feel free to subscribe, check out the merch and the Patreon, and see you guys soon.